Buying milk. You would probably agree with me that buying milk is a pretty easy task, right? Well, yes, for most people, but there are others out there to whom such a mundane task is borderline impossible. Milk inside a bag of milk inside a bag of milk is an indie game created by a Russian indie developer Nikita Kryukov, which tells a story about buying milk from a mentally ill girl's perspective. It was created for a game jam in 2022, and later that year it was published on Steam and got praised for its aesthetic and originality. Let me tell you, it indeed looks originally. But there is a reason why it looks like this, which will be revealed a bit later. The game starts with a task: help me buy milk, and a grotesque picture of a gas station. As I already said, the main character is a girl. Though she doesn't have a name, community usually calls her Milk-chan, because of, the whole milk thing. You play as a voice in her head and can either help her or not. First scene. Milk-chan is walking to the store. It's been such a long time since she's been outside that she forgot what people say in stores. You wonder who the girl is talking to which she replies that she is imagining herself as a game character. It helps her with gathering her thoughts. This way she really needs to concentrate, so she doesn't say something strange. Milk-chan repeats again and again, but still doesn't seem to get it, and she gets upset about it. That's when you tell her that she's been walking with one foot on the pavement and the other one on the grass. And what's even worse, she has made 50 steps on the pavement and 51 in the grass. Now she has to undo the last step. Milk-chan is greatly disturbed by this fact and asks how to do it. She knows what to do, but for some reason doesn't remember now. Because of this, she is ready to burst into tears. With our help, she undoes her last step, making the count of steps even. You remind her that the store closes in an hour, and she will be guilty if she doesn't buy milk, so she walks faster. When Milk-chan enters the store, she approaches the first person she sees and greets them, but all she hears in response is "Oh." She asks what's going on. The answer doesn't change. They repeat themselves for some time, and even though you say that she's at risk of going into a time loop, Milk-chan continues talking for some time. After a while, she realizes that the person in front wants to scare her. But how do they know she's afraid of the letter O? You ask what's so scary about it. She answers that she has a frightening image when she pictures it in her head. It's easier to show than tell. Yeah, not very pleasant. Milk-chan gathers all her will and stops the cycle of repeating with O. When the interlocutor hears the letter, they crawl away. But Milk-chan isn't sure about it. She didn't even look in his direction. You say that you didn't hear what she said, but Milk-chan doesn't believe it because her words are shown on the screen. In the dairy aisle, Milk-chan's mind submerges into thoughts about milk. You pull her out of it by asking whether she remembers why she's here. To buy milk, she responds. You tell her to elaborate, but now she asks the question. Right here? Dumbfounded by this, you ask Milk-chan what she wants to hear. She wants something like, not here. So you say what she wants to hear. Not here. Take it to the counter. Now, she's happy that she gets the first part, but is salty that you, as a fault of spite, didn't pause before the second part, robbing her of a small victory. Girl reluctantly reaches for a bag of milk, or rather a bag of milk inside a bag of milk, or rather a bag of milk inside a bag of milk inside a bag of milk. You save her from the cycle again, reminding her that the store closes in 15 minutes. Suddenly, she remembered what's the genre of games she's in: visual novels. And unlike some books, the numbers are written in full here, which is kinda ironic, because a minute ago 15 was written with numbers. Anyway, Milk-chan approaches the cashier and asks if she can get milk. He loudly responds, "You have it. Give." The girl puts a bag of milk on the register and once again asks whether she can get it, to which the cashier replies, "No." Milk-chan starts to get worried. Mom will throw her out of the window if she comes back empty-handed. But the man is adamant and asks Milk-chan to give more. You remind her that she needs to pay first. The girl takes a crumpled bill out of her pocket and hands it to the cashier. They study it carefully for 2 whole days straight and then nod approvingly. Milk-chan walks down a familiar street near a gas station with a bag of milk unpleasantly tugging on her hand, reminding her of physical therapy. While she slowly approaches the station, Milk-chan again thinks of many stuff, such as pyramid structure of sentences and how she is a bar of ice cream and path back home is the stick. But she gets interrupted by a bear rushing in her direction, which is actually a truck. You say that she could have died, this is a cruel world. Milk-chan replies that she's not in the world you're talking about, evading the conversation. She continues her journey and tells you one interesting thing. The world seems to adjust to her in bizarre ways. When she's in a hurry, all the traffic lights turn green. When she feels like crying, a cloud forms over her head, hiding her tears. Right now, Milk-chan feels a cloud gathering over the top of her head. This is the only moment where your choices really matter. If you say that all this was only in her head, she has a mental breakdown, and this happens. This is more of a fail ending, even though you might think you pick all the right dialogue options, helping Milk-chan understand that all this isn't real. She simply isn't ready to face reality yet. If you don't say anything, Milk-chan decides to talk to the reader. Basically, you. Luckily, she sees a bench nearby, a typical place for a monologue in a novel. She sits down and once again lets you into her mind. Milk-chan tells you that she feels more and more crazy. Her medication seems to have less effect each day. Only thing she wishes for is for everything to be painless. She asks you whether you understand, and now you can type your answer. But she only continues if you type yes. Milk-chan then sighs sorrowfully. She's not the model novel protagonist. To be honest, she hasn't read many of them, and sometimes she regrets it. It's difficult for her to read now, and by the way, she doesn't want to tell you her diagnoses. This way, at least one person will see her for who she is. Girl wonders, even though she made you up, she still must seem crazy. Ever since something happened, all she sees is red blood everywhere. But it's okay, she already forgot what other colors look like. She knows those monsters from the store won't hurt her. They even probably are afraid of her. Milk-chan then asks you to not bring up the topic of what happened to her, but soon tells you anyway. What do you see here? Swatch, maybe something split? This is her dad. Well, at least some of his parts. Milk-chan's family was always difficult, but she never thought he would jump out of the window. This was her last memory before the gap, but today is the first time she has been able to buy something herself. Of course, medicine helped, but she thinks it's because of you, and yet she's been so sad lately. After her dad died, Milk-chan tried so many different medications that she hardly distinguishes them now, but today was special. She wants to tell you so many things, but you advise her to go home before dawn. As Milk-chan approaches her apartment, she hangs on the railing. By doing this, she got rid of fear of heights. A few minutes ago, the effects of the medicine wore off. Now she just enjoys silence. When she is under the influence of drugs, terrible melodies play in her head. Milk-chan comes home, where she gets greeted by her mom. That's all. So, what did I see, you may ask? My answer, a lot. So let's go through the actions of the game again and analyze them. But first thing first, I need to give some context. This game is obviously about a life with mental illnesses and how society treats mentally ill people. Though you probably already heard this from other YouTubers who talked about this game, but I think they miss a key component of understanding this game, where it takes place. In Russia, probably in St. Petersburg. But the following can be said almost about every post-USSR country. This game does not directly tell you this, but in the intro animation for Milk Outside a Bag of Milk Outside a Bag of Milk, which is a sequel of this game, you see this building, which is based on a real home in Russia on Energetikov Street 24. This street is also most likely a prototype for Milk Chan's journey, because there is a gas station and a supermarket nearby. So, why is Milk Chan living in Russia so important? Two things: mentality and medical industry. In most post-USSR countries, mentally ill people are still stigmatized by the older generations and are usually outcasts. Many parents even may see some signs of mental illnesses in their children, but don't get them diagnosed because of this. This leads to another problem. Psychotherapy as a science in these regions is set back a lot. In my opinion, this game is a big message about how bad mentally people have it in these regions. Milk Chan shows symptoms of many different disorders, but if she was diagnosed sooner, she could have been proportionately better. So, what disorders does Milk Chan have? Since the game chooses not to disclose them, they're pretty much up for the interpretation. So, what causes her colorblindness? The best explanation I have found is functional neurological symptom disorder. It is a condition that causes patients to have neurological symptoms such as color blindness without any injuries or illnesses. This disorder may be induced by a traumatic experience on many things. In Milk Chan's case, it was the death of her father. It is also pretty clear she has OCD. OCD, or obsessive compulsive disorder, main symptoms are intrusive thoughts that make the person feel they need to do certain routines that may not seem rational. For example, walking 50 steps on the grass and 50 on the pavement. Last but not least disorder I see in Milk Chan is schizophrenia, even though she doesn't seem to suffer from the most prevalent symptom, hallucinations. Milk Chan still shows other signs of this disorder, such as her perception of time and space being altered. Other people look like monsters to her, and when the cashier counted the money, she felt as if 2 days had passed, when in reality it was a minute or two. Luckily, she isn't opposed to the idea of getting better. For someone whose world is such a scary and malformed place, Milk Chan is surprisingly aware of her state. She understands that she is not well, but isn't able to change herself. She needs someone to help her and a lot of time. This leads us to the last point. I don't think her mom doesn't love her. She is just tired. Her husband left her with Milk Chan alone, and despite all efforts, she doesn't seem to get any better. And again, we only see mother through the eyes of Milk Chan. I think her sending Milk Chan to the store alone is a form of exposure therapy. This is pretty much it. Nikita Kryukov intentionally made everything vague, so the players could see parts of themselves in Milk Chan, which is not bad, I think. Some may see comfort in seeing someone with similar struggles to them. If you liked this video, I would be really grateful if you liked, commented and subscribed. See you in the next one.